Hey, what's up? This is Akon here. Occasionally, fast fashion brands will make attempts to create techwear clothing, or at least clothing that has the appearance of fitting into the techwear aesthetic. People who like the look but have found high-performance fashion to be prohibitively expensive. H&M are the latest to do this with an FW collection called Water Stop Tech. We've had quite a few people asking now what this stuff is like, and there's quite a few bits to the collection, including a jacket coming in at $80 and a pair of cargo pants at $60, designed to be worn as a two-piece set, so I picked up both of those so we can have a bit of an investigate for ourselves. It's on the cheaper end of the spectrum, of course, so we have to assume that we are making sacrifices or cuts somewhere, but the question is where exactly? And are these worth your time, perhaps as somebody that wants to dip their toe into the world of techwear, but maybe doesn't really want to commit or doesn't really want to fully invest into some of those branded, some of those more expensive pieces? And also, where do these sit compared to some of the other affordable options out there? Should this be something that you should consider, or wipe it off the face of the earth entirely? Let's have a look and find out. We'll take a look at the cargos first. I feel like this is often where people like to start with their initial techwear purchases, and then we'll add the jacket into the mix after that. So they're black, water-resistant cargos with a bit of a non-standard pocket design compared to your typical military surplus stuff, which already gives them something of the look people want to go for when they approach this techwear style. Fair enough. Let's have a bit of a look at the pocket here and some of the usability and functionality these things present, because often on the budget stuff it tends not to be that hot. This big old pocket on the left side here, it's a decent sized area, you can get quite a lot of stuff in here, and it's split into multiple sub pockets with these little pieces of nylon here. One of them is almost a perfect size for a phone. It's a little bit too tight for my Pixel 3 XL, but if you've got something a bit smaller than that, a bit more of a regular sized phone, that'll probably be perfect. It's got a little key holder in there as well. It's pretty flimsy, pretty plasticky, but I guess it'll do the job if you've only got one or two keys. The waterproof zip is a nice touch. It's going to help keep the stuff in there dry. The other good thing about this pocket is the square shaped design, with the zip track going down two sides of the square effectively. It means that the pocket can open up quite nicely, so it's easy to get your stuff in and out of there. Also means that when you're sitting down, it allows for much better access to this pocket than in a traditional cargo pocket. You might think though that this pocket design is a little bit familiar. Yep, the pocket design is very similar to the most recent Nike ACG pants, and it's pretty likely that they've just knocked this off. And in fact, the more that you look at these two pants next to each other, I think it's fairly clear that the overall design has kind of been taken from the Nike ACG cargo pants. The other cargo pocket is a similar design too, with a square shape and that snap closure, and they've even put an integrated belt on here in exactly the same way as the Nike ACG pants. Sacrifices had to be made copying the ACG pant design, presumably to hit a price point, and you'll notice that both in the smaller details and on a bit of a macro scale, which I suppose we'll talk about later. But if you look at the main cargo pocket, for example, you'll see that the sub pockets in there in the Nike ACG version, you've got these nice bits of contrasting material, helps you find your stuff better, and it's clear that the internal hardware is a lot more beefed up in that version as well, right down to that key holder being a much chunkier plastic triangle as opposed to the little tiny clip thing on the H&M version. Other features are either downgraded or missing, like the paracord zip pulls, or the little extra toggles at the bottom of the zip, presumably just to reinforce it, but also makes it look better. The only thing that H&M have instead is this slightly cringy, although tonal, like circle of text on the pocket describing kind of waterproof functionality or something like that. It makes the H&M version feel more plain and a bit less technical by comparison. You'll also notice things like the fake fly on the H&M ones. There's a fake back pocket as well, and although the front pockets are mercifully not fake, they do have the same waterproof zip as on the cargo pocket, which sounds good in theory, but in practice, you need constant access to things in your front pocket. You're probably taking your hands in and out a lot, so it makes it much less comfortable to do so. It's more kind of annoying, and if you keep your phone in your front pocket, as many people do, then I guess that the kind of teeth of the zip would have the potential to scratch that, so you kind of got to be careful there too. Probably the only change, which I think is decent, or at least not a negative, is the draw cord cuffs, which can help adjust the fit a little bit, because I know people getting into this style, they do definitely favour the aggressively tapered look, and it does help achieve that, although it is a little bit of a band-aid solution to having a nicely tapered and articulated pant. Let's take a step back though and incorporate the jacket as well, as there are some features that are common to both of these things. To their credit, I do like the fact that they've used the same cargo pocket design on the breast pocket of the jacket as well. It gives the two pieces a little bit of cohesion, and the slightly scaled down version of the pocket on the jacket I do think works well enough, and it being on this side, it does mean that you can access the things in there fairly easily. The other pockets, on the other hand, I'm not such a fan of. They have this vertical entry system with, again, snap closures, similar to on the cargo pockets, the other cargo pocket that is. It feels more military surplus than it does super modern. These two pieces looking so similar though makes it easy, if this is the look that you want, to achieve that with just two pieces and a relatively low budget. The downside though is that this might not actually be the look that you want. The jacket in particular has a very oversized fit and it just looks a bit shapeless and a bit saggy, and you can really get a sense of that when I hold my arms out. There is a very clear structural difference between a jacket like this and the 3-layer constructed or the Ventile cotton jackets and other products that we're used to seeing in this space. Modern performance jackets tend to have a slightly more tailored fit as well. This puts these things in an awkward middle ground between having these kind of surface level techwear elements and a fit which is more akin to like retro windbreakers or just kind of non-fashionable outdoor gear. You could consider sizing down. I got a medium, which is the size that I normally buy in jackets, and there is clearly a lot of extra room here, but there's only so far that's going to get you, and you're going to have to watch out for things like sleeve length if you do decide to do that. In terms of shape actually, it's worth noting that neither the jacket nor the pants have any kind of articulation or any kind of construction that is specifically designed for movement. It's not always the easiest thing to spot, but you will see, for example, if you look closely at even the Nike ACG cargos, for example, you've got these articulated elements here that's going to make these pants move a lot easier with the wearer. Again, it's another thing that's going to separate these from genuine performance clothing. Although I guess at least that these do have a little bit of space in there, so they do move a lot more freely than those cursed AliExpress cargos from last month. But yes, the key thing used over both the jacket and the pants, and H&M's headline feature, I suppose, of this stuff, is the water stop tech material. It is water resistant, I'll give it that. It's pretty light too, and it's quite swishy. I'd associate it more with kind of cheap walking gear that you would find at an outdoor shop than I would kind of lifestyle stuff designed for genuine everyday wear. It's not uncomfortable in the sense that it's easy enough to move around in, but it exacerbates those issues, I think, of the fit of this stuff maybe not quite being what people want. However, there is a bigger issue with this material, and that is the fact that it is almost totally non-breathable. Even after a few minutes of throwing mad shapes on the dance floor, there was noticeable condensation on the inside of this jacket. I was absolutely turning to liquid. You can see on the inside here, this shiny backing looks totally impermeable. It's a cheap way of making things water resistant. Nothing comes in and nothing comes out. For that reason, I would not want to be wearing this stuff all day, because as soon as you start moving around and getting a bit warm, you are going to get really wet from the inside out, and that's going to make you extremely uncomfortable. Remember, techwear doesn't just mean make it waterproof, it's about combining genuine performance and aesthetics into something that has a lot of utility value. And non-breathable, sweaty clothing, that is low utility value. So there are quite a few areas where this stuff feels like a noticeable downgrade compared to what we would normally look at. And of course, when this stuff is coming in at a lower price, we have to be prepared for that to be the case. Our expectations have to be limited, but that one issue of breathability really prevents these from being wearable for me. And the things that I like most, the things that I feel that they got right, were the things that were basically directly knocked off from other products, namely the Nike ACG cargos. So I can't help but think, if that's the stuff that I like, then really I should just be buying those instead, and no doubt I will get a much better experience. Those are going to have not only those nice little details that you can appreciate, but the material looks significantly better in the Nike ACG cargos. You've got that articulation as well. I think there's just going to be a lot more to like there. And in general, it seems like there's a bit of a disparity here between the little technical features like the cargo pockets with the waterproof zips and the overall fit of this stuff, which looks more like it's from an outdoor outlet and not really designed for fashion. Those little features kind of feel like the techwear equivalent of spoilers and a go faster stripe. I think that aesthetic and I think the performance that the cargo pocket gives you is a little bit skin deep, and it comes across as techwear on a budget for that reason, which is not necessarily what you want to be going for. And further to that, I think because of the feature set of this, because of the lack of breathability in particular, it's long term. If you're wearing this all day, it's not going to be working with you, it's going to be working against you. Overall, I would be pretty hesitant to recommend these. Even within H&M, I think there are better looking cargo options here, which are certainly not going to have that breathability issue being made of cotton and stuff. Yes, they're not going to have that water resistance, but I think, to be honest, that is a worthy sacrifice to make here, and you're still going to get a fairly similar overall look. And they're just going to be more comfortable 99% of the time. And for jackets in the past, we've had some success with some of that military surplus gear. I would certainly be looking there before going for that H&M stuff. And even looking back a couple of weeks into that Techwear brands video, some of those Taiwanese brands presenting some at least unique and more interesting options that are more at the affordable end of the scale. Yeah, a bit of a miss, unfortunately, from H&M there, but what do you think? Do you like the look of it at least? And if you've got any alternative recommendations for stuff at the more budget end of the spectrum that you've got on well with, then definitely stick that down there in the comments. I'm sure people will find that valuable for sure. And I've always been a fan of Uniqlo, so no doubt there's going to be some people recommending some of the Block Tech stuff, for example. But yeah, that is everything from me on the H&M Water Stop Tech collection. And thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like. It is super appreciated. And as always, I will catch you next week with another video. Shout out to Elizabeth for giving your thoughts last week on the Nile backpack as well. Always good to have multiple people's opinions in the comments. You can get that kind of extra perspective. Maybe they'll mention that extra thing that maybe I didn't for whatever reason. So yeah, makes things more valuable. So always good to see. And shout out to BJam, one of the few people that got that the alternative rock picture at the beginning of last week's video was, of course, the Pixies. Great band. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, then definitely consider doing so, because we've got more videos coming out every single gosh darn week. Keep a lookout, weekly videos. There's some hot new Nike releases coming, so I'm going to try and get some of that stuff, because that will definitely make a great review subject. Anyway, that's it. So I'm out.